Jeffrey Epstein secretly discussed vaccine plans with Bill Gates years before the pandemic happened, according to a review of newly released U.S. Justice Department files. The information emerged after millions of pages of Epstein-related documents were made public on the 30th of January. A 2011 email, allegedly linking Epstein, Gates and vaccine planning. The email was taken from civil court records, linked to a lawsuit brought by the U.S. Virgin Islands government against J.P. Morgan Chase. The case accused the bank of failing to properly monitor and report suspicious financial activity connected to Epstein during their business relationship. The email exchange, dated August 2011, involved Epstein and Mary Erdos, then a senior executive at J.P. Morgan, and focused on setting up charitable investment structures connected to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The email mentions vaccines. At the time the correspondence was written, the coronavirus outbreak was still nearly a decade away. Some online posts also pointed to separate documents referencing pandemic preparedness. Emails sent to Epstein in 2015, while the Epstein files have reignited scrutiny around specific relationships. Their deeper significance lies in how they intersect with a much longer and largely unexamined timeline. Public records, institutional initiatives, and financial instruments indicate that the conceptual foundations of pandemic preparedness as a managed financial and security category began to take shape in the late 1990s and early 2000s, as philanthropic capital, global health governance, and risk finance increasingly converged. Following the 2008 financial crisis, this framework rapidly accelerated, expanding through reinsurance markets, parametric triggers, donor-advised funding structures, and global simulations years before COVID-19 made the architecture visible to the public. Internal J.P. Morgan emails from 2011 show Jeffrey Epstein advising the bank's most senior executives on how to pitch a Gates-anchored donor-advised fund, insisting the presentation include the phrase "additional money for vaccines," and directing the creation of an offshore arm, especially for vaccines. A 2017 email thread between Epstein, Gates, and Boris Nikolic names pandemic as a key area for donor-advised fund struck just 3 years before the pandemic. January 2017. Message thread from Epstein's phone shows an associate listing pandemics as a professional simultaneously discussing career placement into Gates' private office. Boris Nikolic, S. Biomatics Capital, Merck's vaccine team, and Swiss Re's pandemic reinsurance products. A Gates Foundation briefing describes a global health investment fund as an impact investment vehicle targeting 5 to 7% returns on drugs and vaccines, backed by a 60% principal guarantee. A 2017 internal scope document from BGC3, Gates' private office, lists strain pandemic simulation alongside neurotechnology and national defense applications. A 2015 Gates Foundation letter confirms pandemic preparedness coordination with the International Peace Institute, led by Turge. A documented Epstein dinner guest. While Epstein separately feeds Ruud Larson Gates's public pandemic messaging, the emails, agreements, text messages, investment briefings, and scope memos examined in this report do not prove that the pandemia was manufactured or deliberately released. Pandemics and vaccines were treated as standing financial and strategic categories years before any declared pandemic, complete with capital vehicles, legal frameworks, communication strategies, patent portfolios, simulation programs, reinsurance products, and rehearsal events. The people building those structures were not public health officials reacting to emerging threats. They were financiers, private office strategists, pharmaceutical and convicted intermediaries working inside boardrooms at J.P. Morgan, drafting scope documents at Gates' private office, coordinating across offshore jurisdictions, and brokering career placements into vaccine teams and pandemic reinsurance units. Therefore, that distinction matters. Preparedness is a public good. Pre-alignment of profit, power, and narrative control around a predicted crisis category is not in the documents that follow show how easily such alignment drifts from public service into systemic exploitation. Please subscribe to the canal and like the video.